Hi, I'm Gigi and on this episode of Alabama Inc., we look at the old cruise terminal in Mobile. We find out why no one's yelling Bon Voyage from the decks anymore. Pat Duggins catches up with former civil rights activist Shelly Stewart. He's CEO of the ad agency O2 Ideas. And Richard Burton returns. He and Josh get a little morbid. They talk about the hidden costs of dying. All that's coming up on Alabama Inc. What kind of economic impact does the cruise industry have around the world? Try $100 billion, and it's growing. But guess who's not getting a piece of that pie? Mobile. We head to the old cruise terminal to find out what killed the cruise industry there. At one time not long ago, Mobile Bay was getting a lot of action. Cruise ship action. Sheila Gorganis remembers those days.
When the Elation was here, it kind of covered up pretty much all of this. When the Triumph and the Conquest was here, it towered up to the rooftop.
Wow.
I mean, you could be on the roof and look out, and it was still above you.
Would people be standing out there on deck?
Oh yeah. They loved for us to stand out here and wave to them. I mean, they just love that. They love for you to, and we did it every cruise. We'd come out here and wave to them, you know. They loved that. They adored you to wave to them.
So this place has been around since when?
It was built in 2004. We had the first cruise on October 16th, 2004.
You were here?
I was here. I was managing it.
So what was that like?
We had an overnight stay here at the dock on the ship, and the first cruise was on the Holiday, the Miss Holiday.
So, you know, when Carnival called and said, hey, we're going to do this year-round,
it was exciting.
Why was it exciting?
It was very exciting. The city had been trying to get it for many years, and it was very, very successful. For 7 years, we filled ships over 100% capacity.
But those crowds didn't paint the full picture. The way Sheila explains it, a cruise line's success doesn't just depend on how many tickets you sell, but how much you sell them for.
You know, with the economy as it was at that time, it's very important to keep your yield up. And at that time, the ticket sales were great. We were 118% full. But what they pay for the ticket and what they spend when they get on the ship is what drives the market. I mean, that's what drives the cruise lines to keep the ship there, bring a bigger ship to your port, and undoubtedly, they felt we did not have that strong of a yield for them to keep it here.
Well, they didn't say they were cutting back. They just were saying they're completely pulling out.
We're moving the ship. We're moving the ship. That's what they said.
What was the first thing that went through your mind?
Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
The problem for Mobile is that the city's still paying off debt from the building. And now it's just sort of there. When Mobile Mayor Sandy Stimpson took office in 2013, this was one of the things he had on his plate.
Years ago, when a cruise line showed up into a community or a city, you know, they pretty much stayed there. You know, it was kind of a done deal. You know, they came, they stayed and stayed and stayed. And so there was a commitment made by the city with the belief that maybe Carnival would never leave. But there was never anything more than a one-year contract. And so when the economy changed and Carnival saw an opportunity to possibly make more money somewhere else, you know, they pulled the ship.
And at the same time, you invested how much building this cruise terminal?
Oh, you know, I'm going to say it's north of $20 million. Yeah. And today, you know, amortizing the debt on this facility is about $2 million a year. So it's a real financial drain on the city, you know, for us not to have a cruise ship here. And at some point, I mean, obviously we are talking to the cruise lines about coming back, but at some point, if they don't come back, we will repurpose this facility to something else.
In the meantime, there's all this stuff that's just sitting there collecting dust. Stacks of chairs, old ticket counters, customs stations. And the city bought this new gangway not long before the cruise ships left.
There's my chairs.
Were these the same chairs that you used?
Uh-huh.
The
That's
very
my cruise
ones.
chairs. My
Look at
stanchions
this.
got rusted.
They're rusty.
Yeah, they did. They stayed out in the weather. We use these to separate the security from the passengers. Mm-hmm. And these are the check-in desks.
You could say Sheila is making do. She's an event coordinator for weddings and other functions at the old cruise terminal. She books it, rents it, makes sure everything runs smoothly. Things are going pretty well, she says.
Then I have a wedding next Saturday. Mm-hmm. The following Saturday, I have another wedding. The following Saturday, I have another wedding.
Over 500 people, $3,500 plus 6% tax.
That's today. As my demand grows stronger,
Yeah,
I have to.
you could charge more?
I charge more. Mm-hmm. Since December 1st, I've raised the price twice.
Really? You've got to do it to where people are like crying as they're writing the check out to you.
They obviously don't have a problem with it because they're paying it.
It sounds like you're doing pretty good business here, you making good use of the facilities. So
We are.
why bother trying to get cruise ships back?
Well, you know, these functions that we are having, they're paying operational bills, but they're not paying the major debt that we have on this, because this building, like I said, it was built in 2004, and having functions every week, I could have functions every day, and I'm not going to pay a large debt with what I'm making.
Sheila gets really wistful when she talks about the cruise ship days. It was great for the city, she says, and great for her. She remembers the song that played when the last ship left.
A lot of times they would play Sweet Home Alabama.
Did they really?
Yes, the
That
very
is-
very first cruise, they played that. And the very last cruise, when they left, they played it as we cried.
The Cruise Lines International Association estimates more than 21 million people will be cruise passengers this year. None of them, though, will come through Mobile. Not for now, anyway. Coming up next on Alabama Inc.,
I not ever switch off an ad, no matter how bad I learn from it.
When it comes to Shelly Stewart of Birmingham, it's tough to know where to begin the conversation. On the one hand, he's a successful advertising executive, but he's also an icon of Alabama's civil rights movement, immortalized on Alabama Public Radio. Here's how he got from here to there. Doctor is somebody who makes ads for a living. Is there a kind of a television ad that when you look at it, you just switch it off and you go to something else?
No. I not ever switch off an ad, no matter how bad it is. I learned from it, you know. I mean, really, the person that created the ad would not have put it out there if he or she had not believed that it was good. So I take it and I'll look at it, and no, I won't cut it off. Not ever.
You went through a time of just intolerable racism, violence, and then when you sat down and said, okay, I'm going to start up my own ad agency, I don't think anybody would have blamed you if you said, in the South? Are you kidding? No way. Why did
Never
you...
crossed my mind that I would not do anything in the South. This is home. This is America. So really, I never looked at the thing as a civil issue. I looked at it from the beginning, long before that this is about human beings. So I looked at the big picture, not just a little bit of the civil part of it, but I went after it saying it takes both the black and the white keys on the piano to play the Star Spangled Banner. So I did not hesitate to look at the big picture and do a business for all Americans and beyond.
Well, people who listened to commercial radio back in the 50s and 60s would remember you as like first, Shelly the Playboy,
Yeah.
and then later on, Shelly the Early Bird Stewart. We got
Yes.
some old tape of you doing that. Was that kind of got you going toward being an ad man? It's kind of like, we can do it better than this. I can do it better than this.
Not really. I never set out to be an ad person. I set out really to become an attorney. Honestly, I did. I had no idea of being in the entertainment or the ad business. I never did look at advertising as a piece that I was going to make a living on, but I felt that I could take advertising and make a better America.
So, everybody in life, they need help, they need a partner, that sort of thing. And Cy Steiner was the gentleman that you worked with. And I understand that you two got together over a necktie.
It wasn't over a necktie because I went down to buy a necktie. Nobody would wait on it except Cy. He came up to say, can I help you? And a conversation took place there. And that has been 1958, you understand?
Do you remember your first client when you first put your ad agency together, the first person that signed on the line and said, I want...
Bruno's. Bruno's. Then Parisians, yeah.
Wow.
And then Golden Flakes.
So, how long was it before you realized, this is going to work? This is doing...
We had to handle it a different way because of society. Remember, we started 47 years ago now. There was fear between for Cy and I of letting the public know that we were doing business together. So we had to somewhat, do it in our way and said, Cy, I know the business. Cy, you have this. You're the salt, I'm the pepper. So we just said it takes the salt and the pepper to have a well-seasoned table, So we took it and said, okay, salt, you go out there and do this. The pepper will come out, I'll put the other seasoning on it, and vice versa. So we took it and used that even to this day. But now we don't have to hide our relationship, you understand?
So advertising in general, back in the 60s you got started, and now we're in the age of the internet and everything like that. How's it changed for you?
Totally different. You imagine now with all of the computers and things, and we had easels and the likes and mimeograph machines, you understand? And putting the flyers out where you crank them out, a lot different than that. And what you're seeing here, you understand the technology, how much faster and actually better quality now that you can put out there. So it's a world of difference from now than it was 60, 50 years ago.
Yeah, so we're talking back in the 60s it was like easels, now we're into computers and stuff like that. Has anybody even thought what the future might be like?
Yeah, you can always look for the future, but you just cannot predict, you understand? No one can do it, no man. So you prepare for it. For me, O2 Ideas, I'm surrounded not by one, but a team of great people who can carry it to that next level, to hopefully the next century, this being 2014, that they will be kind enough to teach and surround themselves with people, and O2 Ideas will go on into the year 2099 and beyond.
Really successful ad agency, you're doing great, representing big companies, Toys R Us, that sort of thing, but no major businesses actually in Alabama. Is that still true?
Since that time, I have, I don't know whether they heard, but Now, major business, we represent one of the large bottling companies, Buffalo Rock Bottling Company now. We represent Hoare Construction Company now. We represent Protective Life Insurance Company now. And we represent Books A Million now. Not the so-called the black side, the diversity side, but we represent them totally, you understand. So things have grown. We communicate. It's about relationship. Let's build a quality business, and that's what my leadership, hopefully, that we have done. And even when I'm no longer here, they'll understand that it's about building a quality business that can service all of the business, not just a portion of it.
How much is that of a personal triumph for you, do you think?
Maybe 80 years of age and going through the things that I've gone through. But I think that it is great that I can go throughout the United States of America. I can hold my head up. Yes, I am from the South. Yes, I am from Birmingham, Alabama. Yes, I did do things. They called me a mean dude, you understand? Because I didn't take this thing of, I'm gonna be just, I'm gonna take this end of it. No, I'm gonna get a good education. I'm gonna educate myself. I'm gonna compete with you, and that's what it is. I'm gonna position myself to be able to compete with you, you understand, no matter what you are. So I feel pretty good that I'm working toward that solution.
Doctor, thank you so much.
Coming up next on Alabama Inc.
You want to have that plan laid out. The will is your plan.
Do people ever do treasure maps instead of wills?
Each week on Alabama Inc., we bring in one of our show experts to talk with correspondent Josh Sneed. Our expert gives Josh a top 5 list, and Josh takes it from there. Richard Burton of Burton & Associates is back up, and he's here to tell Josh that death ain't cheap.
Today we're going to talk about the hidden costs of dying. I'm going to be upfront with you and tell you that I personally plan on using a combination of modern science and a paleo diet to live forever. But this might be important information for the rest of you. Richard Burton from Burton & Associates is here to lay it all out for us. Today on the Alabama Inc. Countdown. All right, Richard, you're back. Thanks, we didn't scare you off.
Yeah, glad to be back.
So today we're going to talk about the 5 hidden costs of dying. It's kind of morbid, but this is going to be good, right?
It's going to be a good conversation.
All right, let's jump in. Number 5.
Number 5, let's just start with the overall cost of funerals. Basically, just that funerals can be really expensive.
Like, how much are we talking here, like on average?
On average, right now, it's going to be about $10,000.
$10,000 for the casket to the everything.
Yeah, most people, I don't know really what, I think most people don't think about the cost of a funeral. There's the cost of the funeral home, the services, reserving the chapel,
Live
and
band.
And then of course there's the casket. Obviously, there's digging the grave, covering the grave up. There's the memorial.
Yeah, people
marker.
don't ever think about that when they're thinking of.
Yeah, there's actual labor involved in burying you.
See, I would do that like I did my wedding. Just keep the $10,000. Just cremate me, have a party.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the average cremation is about $2,700.
Really?
Yeah.
Just to cremate.
That's for putting you in.
Is that the receptacle as well?
Yeah, no, that's actually for putting you in a cardboard box.
Really?
Yeah, if you bought a fancy
just
receptacle.
rolling you down the thing, and then they just kind of.
You do avoid digging the hole.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. $10,000. That's a lot of money. All right.
Yeah.
Number 4.
All right, number 4 is dying without a will. It's definitely a hidden cost because it's something a lot of people don't think about, but it's much easier for an attorney to administer your estate if there's a will in place versus not.
Do people ever do treasure maps instead of wills?
The cost associated though with dying without a will and the administering the estate is really what's expensive, and it's much easier to do that if you have a will. A will basically is a plan. You want to have that plan laid out, and the more the will is your plan.
All right. Get a will.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
important. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3, sort of playing off that. Number 3 is waiting too long to create a will.
Right.
And this is a problem we see, in particular with older clients. Very common in my practice, I'll actually have the kids who'll come to me, and we need to get a mom.
Trying to get mom and dad's money.
Yeah, well, that's they realize there's some issues with their parents. Mom's in a nursing home and she's got these issues, and we know we never got a will for dad, but everything went to mom, but now we know we need to take care of this. They're going to ask for a doctor to step in to make an evaluation as to that person's competency. And sometimes it's you've just waited too late.
So the whole thing can be avoided by just getting one early on and then kind of keeping it updated as you go.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 2, what do you got?
We're going to talk about claims being filed against the estate. And this is basically, let's say either you had a will or you didn't, regardless you're in probate. And now what you'll find oftentimes is that mom and dad owed people some money. But sometimes you actually run into situations where there are more debts than there are assets.
So that's when you just change your name and leave town.
Yeah. Well, the bad news for the kids is an insolvent estate means you don't inherit anything. Sometimes you can get that debt settled in the estate, so the debt may not actually be passed to the children, but nothing else is going to be passed to the children because all the money's got to be used to pay off what debts we can pay off.
All right, great. That was super depressing. All right, so number 1, this is it.
Attorney's fees. And,
you would?
And well, there are varying types of estates. We talked a little bit about dying with a will versus dying without a will. But the reality is the attorney's fees are going to be substantially higher.
And how do the attorneys set their fees for something like this?
It's rather subjective, to be honest. And let's say a client comes in and there are 3 siblings, and I find out that the 3 siblings haven't spoke in 20 years. You know, they don't send Christmas cards.
Right, so these people, they're almost strangers.
So those are sort of red flags for the attorney. That's going to increase the amount of fees that attorney most likely will charge up front as a retainer. You're going to be billing by the hour.
So if you're coming in to meet with a lawyer, make up ahead of time. You know, don't come in swinging.
Yeah, well, maybe find out at least where your brothers and sisters
an organized
are living.
front.
You know?
Basic information. Are they alive? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, that's it. You're done. Another week in the bag. You did it. Are you proud of yourself? 'Cause I'm proud of you. All right.
That's our show for this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Keep up with the stories we're working on and tell us what you think. I'm Gigi Duban, and we'll see you next time on Alabama Inc.